Hello and welcome to EV Focus Now. And today we're going to talk about the top 3 reasons why the Volkswagen ID4 is the best first SUV for first-time EV buyers. And I really mean that. This car I'm really impressed by what Volkswagen has done. Now, I will say, just for slight disclaimer, 2 things. One is I've been driving EVs for about 8 years now. I'm very familiar with them, and so my judgment of this is a little bit different than others. So I'm speaking from the perspective of a new EV buyer. Why this is probably the best EV for a new EV buyer, one who left the ICE car and never been in an EV before, to jump into. And the 3 reasons why I believe that is. Now, just so you know, I just bought one of these. I had a Chevy Bolt before, and I decided that, with the recall, although my battery was not affected, I had a 2019 and my battery was made in the US, so it wasn't affected, but I was afraid about the value of the Bolt going down and losing depreciation. So I decided to go ahead, and they had a great, fantastic lease deal, and I traded in my Bolt for the base model ID Pro, which is the best model to me, and I'll go into another video about that, why I'm going to tell you I believe it's the best model than the Pro S or the first edition, but we'll go into that later. But let's first go into the first reason. This car feels like a mid-size SUV that's, would rival the Toyota RAV4 or the Honda CRV or even the Ford Escape, but it's electric. It feels, jump into it, it just feels like a regular car. It runs great, rides great, great suspension, just goes over bumps like it's nothing, and it handles great. The turn radius is outstanding on this. And I owned a i3, BMW i3, and that had the best turn radius I've ever seen. This one is a much longer car, and it is fantastic, similar to the ID3 and the i3, not ID3, in my opinion. So that's one of the things I really was impressed. The tech is not overwhelming. As far as a new user getting in, I know there's been some videos where people are saying the haptic feedback buttons are an issue and the touch sensitive. It really is overblown. I mean, yeah, I much rather have this push buttons or just knobs, but it's not a big deal because basically you're going to control everything with your steering wheel anyway. You just press it, it feeds back, it's a little like a jolt. And you turn your volume up there, switch your stations up there, you adjust your speed. It's not a big deal. A lot of people are saying you have to hit this on the main screen, 10-inch screen, and you really don't. You can control everything in your steering wheel. The only thing you do have to control is your climate, and again, that is somewhat been overblown. You hit the climate button, you slide it over, you slide it back, and that's it. You don't have to use the sliding feature that is listed in front of the tablet at all. You can just use the simple, just press the climb button, slide it with your hand, or press with your hand to whatever level of fan speed you would like or how cold you would like it to be. Or you can use the ID4 voice command. It works pretty good to change the temperature of what you want the cabin to be. So, I mean, all those things I think, that just really work well with the car. And it's a very comfortable ride and stylish as well. So I mean, the seats are obviously much more comfortable than the Chevy Bolt. Those seats are really narrow and uncomfortable, wasn't padded well. These seats are very comfortable. They're not massaging seats. The Pro, they're fine. They're cloth seats, which I prefer anyway in the heat. And the ride is fantastic, very comfortable. So number one, it feels like a mid-size SUV, ICE SUV in the market. That's number one. Number two, good electric range. And let's go into this a little bit. So the ID4 is rated at 250 miles EPA, okay? And that's for the Pro S and the first edition. But the Pro, which is one of the reasons why I chose the Pro, because it has no glass roof, gets 260 miles. And to me, that 10 miles of extra range or buffer makes a big difference. It means I can just go a little bit further, have a little more comfort driving, not worrying about range anxiety at all. So I like that. If I'm gonna buy an EV, I want to get as much range as possible. If it's and this is a lesser priced car. It's not as expensive as the Pro S or the first edition, and I get more range. It was a no-brainer to me in that point. Unless you, hey, unless you want that sunroof, you want those adjustable 5-6 way memory seats, Some of the 12-inch screen. If that matters to you, then of course, if you want the leather seats, go with the upper models. But I have a Tesla Model 3, so I am very familiar with the sunroof. Sometimes it's annoying because I don't want the sun to come in, so I didn't want that at all with this vehicle. And the seats were fine. I didn't need massaging seats. I'm not taking road trips in this, although you can. I will speak about that later. But yeah, even if I did was to go on long trips in this vehicle, the seats are fine. So I opted for not to have all that, because I didn't need it, and I thought it was great value having the extra range without having all the extra stuff that really didn't matter that much, because you get all the same safety features as the upper models. The other thing I want to mention is that the easy charging through Electrify America. Now, there's been some videos on this. It really is pretty easy. I mean, look, it's not Tesla where you pull up, plug in, walk away. You know it's starting, you know it's working, you know it's getting up to speeds. But even Tesla chargers, you have to check, because sometimes you can have a bad charger and you're not getting max speed. So even that, sometimes you have to check. But most of the time, Tesla is carefree, and that's the value of a Tesla supercharger. And pretty much what I'm hearing is going to be the value of everybody, because they're opening it up to all the manufacturers down the road, whenever that is. But anyway, so with Electrify America, it's a little bit different. You pull up, you open your app up, you activate the charger. It says plug in. You plug in. Takes about 45 seconds to initialize, and then it's ready to go, and it's charging. And the charging speed, the curve on this is fantastic. I mean, I was so impressed. It's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons also why I chose this over a Bolt EUV or even the Mustang Mach-E. Is the charging speed on this is fantastic. Now, the charging speed for the Mustang is 150 kilowatts max, but it doesn't hold it. The curve is what matters, not how fast the top speed it can charge, but how long it can charge at a top speed is the key. And this thing, I will tell you, it started off, I had 20%, started at 129 kilowatts. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. It's rated at 125. Then at 73%, held the kilowatts at 68% kilowatts charging. And then at 95% state of charge, I was getting 32 kilowatts, which was fantastic at 95%. And I usually don't charge up to 95%, but I wanted to test and see how many kilowatts will I still be getting at that high level state of charge. So again, it was 30 minutes to get fully charged, and that was it. I was so impressed, and it definitely showed me that this is definitely a road trip car. Now, I did drive this car on a 350 mile, it's probably 600-700 mile both ways road trip, and it did great. I had 2 stops that amounted about 25 to 30 minutes. I went and ate some lunch, used the bathroom, and I was ready to go. It was very similar to my Tesla experience. It wasn't long charging. The charger worked fine. Of course, you have to kind of plan your route, know where the Electrify America's charging stations are, and the 2 that I used were right off the freeway, really convenient, no problem at all, and I was on my way. So A+ to the Volkswagen ID4 for that. And depending on where you are, you pick your stations. EA is getting better. They could, eventually they're going to have plug and charge, which again, it's beyond me how Volkswagen is behind EA, at least developed it, and they don't have plug and charge, but Ford does. I don't get that, but it's going to come. An over-the-air update is going to be sent. I heard it's coming in the next week or 2, and we'll see if that feature is added. But besides that, not a really big deal. Again, number 2, good electric range with all the things underneath it that I wanted to throw in as a caveat to deal with that range. And number 3, the third reason why I think it's the best buy for first-time EV buyers, and even, let me just elaborate, even if you're not a first-time EV buyer like myself, I bought it. This is a fantastic city car, but you can take it on the road too. It can road trip, but for me, it's going to be used around the city more, because I usually take my Model 3 out on the roads and stuff like that. But I definitely could take this. My wife might take it when she goes somewhere or out of state, so it definitely can work. But number 3, it's the best EV for the price. I mean, $41,000 for the base Model Pro. After you add a $75 tax credit, I leased this car for $33,500. That was it. And a 3-year lease. And on top of all that, 3-year lease, 12,000 miles a year, and free supercharging for 3 years. That was really the deciding factor for me over the Mustang Mach-E. And believe me, I have a family member that works for Ford. I would have got a discount on the Mustang. Not that much. They're only giving like $1,200 off or employees and their families. But the problem is with Ford, and they have no control over this, the dealerships are marking these cars way up. The base model Ford, that would be equivalent to the ID4 that I got, is supposed to be about $42,000. They're marking them up to $48,000, $50,000 at the dealerships, and it's just ridiculous, and it's hurting Ford. One of the reasons I turned away because of that, and it gets 230 miles versus 260 miles. So, and it gets 250 miles of free charging at EA versus 3 years. And let me tell you, that makes a big difference. Took a road trip on this, didn't spend a dime. Didn't spend a dime charging 2 times. And I'm thinking, wow, I leased this. What if you bought this? I mean, you can even travel even further, leasing. Now I got to watch how many miles I go. And that's fine. I don't plan to take a road trip in this vehicle too much. But free charging, it's free. And what does this mean? This means that people who live in apartments, they can now take advantage of this and get this car and charge for free. Or if you don't have charging options wherever you are, home. But if you're traveling, it doesn't cost you anything. With gas at $4 a gallon almost in some places, hey, this is going to save you $150, $200. So that can now cover the money you saved on gas, can kind of cover the lease payment or the car note for this ID4 or the hotel you're staying at overnight. This really does make a huge difference. And that's one of the main reasons. And the third reason why I think it's one of the best buys for first-time EV buyers and just in EV buyers, period. Now, I will say that, you shouldn't supercharge all the time. But again, I'm leasing it, so if I want to supercharge every day, I could charge it to 90%. I could, but by habit, I only charge 80%, and I rarely supercharge. Only if I'm taking a road trip, I just charge at home. It gets set up to 11 kilowatts, so it charges pretty fast within 7 hours of what I've seen. And it's just very comfortable. It's a very happy looking car, fun to drive, no thrills. It's not supposed to be a speedy sports car. It's not supposed to do what the Model 3 does or the Model Y. It's just an everyday car for families and for single people too. It's roomy inside, seats 5. It is just fantastic. And believe me, I speak out of experience. I've owned a Chevy Bolt. I've owned a Leaf. I've owned an BMW i3. I own a Tesla. I own a Pacifica plug-in minivan. I've owned all these vehicles before. And, there are some things. Now, let me say this. Coming from driving Teslas and other EVs, there are some things that I wish they would improve on that the regular person would not. Someone coming from an ICE car would not even probably mention these things that I hope Volkswagen will fix or improve down the road. One is, I mentioned plug and play. That would be great. But the one pedal driving, it's the B mode. It's not as aggressive. It will bring you to a stop, but a very slow stop. It won't stop you like a Model 3 or like a Bolt or other EVs out there, Kia EVs. It's going to take its time, and they can make that aggressive. They can do the software update and make that more aggressive. And I think they should. It's like, hey, you know what? If I want to drive one pedal driving, put it in B. If you don't, put it in drive. No problem. Some people who coming from ICE cars just want it to feel like a regular car and want to use the brakes. Me, I'm so used to one pedal driving, I hardly ever use the brakes, and that's the way I like to drive my EVs. So I hope they make that a more aggressive one pedal driving. But the regen on this vehicle is fantastic. Going downhill on the road trip, I barely used any electricity. I mean, for about 50 miles, I was going downhill, and I didn't barely burn anything. I mean, it really regens really well, I must say that. And I hope they eventually will set up the mapping of the navigation, showing you where all Electrify Americas are, or where level 3s are, where you can select level 3 charging, level 2 charging, because it shows all charging, level 1, level 3, level 2 on the route, and you're never going to use any of those level 1 and level 2s on a road trip. You want level 3. So those are things that I think Volkswagen can improve on. Volkswagen will be sending out over their updates. We'll see if they take any of these on and make it better. But again, it is fantastic. And then if Tesla opens up the supercharger to other EVs like they said they are, then it's really, there's nowhere you can't go and feel comfortable. Then you have a charger almost every 75 miles. You'll have some kind of level 3 charger, whether it's ChargePoint, Electrify America, or Tesla. So that's really going to be big game changer. Again, this is not, I hate people that say Tesla killer. This is not Tesla killer. This is not Tesla. Tesla's a little higher up as far as performance, status, things like that. This is a car to take out other ICE cars. This is an EV that gets people switched over to electrical vehicles. That's what this vehicle is. has decent pickup, no problem. Goes 0 to 60, I say within 7-8 seconds. Wasn't bad at all, and it rides great. So that's the purpose of this car and what Volkswagen was looking for it to do. And I think they've achieved it. I'm super impressed. Again, I took ownership about 2 weeks ago, took it on a road trip, very impressed with everything. Even the lane keep assist, the adaptive cruise control ran really well. So I was impressed all the way around. And I encourage you, take a test drive in this, take a look at this. If you're looking to replace a car, this is the best value. It really is. Free 3 years of supercharging, 260 miles, in a well-built Volkswagen. In my opinion, it has good tech, and it's a winner all the way around. Plus, good luggage space. Doesn't have a frunk. I know that. I don't know why they don't have a frunk, but the back space is decent. And I didn't really bother me that much because, again, I traded in my Bolt for it, and the Bolt didn't have a frunk either. So this is much, much better. So anyway, that's it. You know, I really want to hear your opinions. This is my just quick review of what I thought about the car I just bought and why I'm recommending to anybody who looking for an EV to replace an old EV or looking for their first electric vehicle. Take a look at the ID4. It's a fantastic vehicle and something I think you'll be very happy with. It does everything well. It's not supposed to stand out in any particular direction, leading wise or speed or performance, but it's a great car, everyday city car, and now even a car you can take on the road and save tons of money on gas for switching over to electric vehicle. All right, well, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification button below, and definitely please like all my videos because it helps the algorithms of YouTube right now. I really appreciate it. And that will keep you on top of all the new videos to come out. Please tune in and next time, until next time anyway, when my next video comes out, when it comes to EVs, continue to stay focused. Bye-bye.